you have an issue that you need to fix.
I just don't get that personally. I don't get that temptation.
We're all different. We're all going to go about things slightly different.
I think this situation really isn't about a cat.
Are they mad at me? Like, what did I do sort of thing? Like,
So you're here the whole time too?
as a woman, if my partner was bringing home strange men,
I definitely think consciousness is the final frontier.
I don't have a cat or a dog, so I guess just cuddle up with a blanket.
Welcome to High Vibe Finds, the podcast. This is where I share my conscious take on pop culture and the human experience, plus a few intriguing stories that just might redefine your reality. My guest today is singer, actress, environmental educator, and longtime collaborator, Olivia Bailey. Welcome, Olivia.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Since we're recording this in January, I thought I'd ask you, do you have any New Year's resolutions? And if so, what are they?
I don't have any formal ones that I've specifically written out. However, I've been getting more into running in the last couple months and I'm wanting to keep that up. Starting pretty small, nothing crazy. I've just been doing some 5Ks, but I've been working on getting myself to be faster at them. So I've been working towards that. So I think I've been really focusing on consistently running, which is something that is kind of hard for me. I feel like it's not something I naturally lean into, but that's kind of why I'm doing it, right? It's something good to challenge yourself. And I feel good afterwards. So that's definitely something that I'm working to in this new year.
That's great. Are you actually running more in the mornings or in the later part of the day?
Later in the day, mainly because of my schedule, but on the weekend, sometimes in the morning. Yeah.
So I have 5 cosmic questions I ask all my guests at the top of the show. Ready for them?
Yes.
Okay, the first one, what is the most inspiring quote you've ever heard?
So one quote that I do really like is, "Curiosity will conquer fear even more than bravery will." And I think, to me, when I think about that, when you think in a super literal sense, it's maybe okay, if you're curious, you're going to ask questions, you're going to learn things, you're going to know more. So then you're going to be prepared for a situation, right? And if you're prepared, you're less scared. And so you don't have to just do the whole I'll be brave and I'll just do it, because you know kind of what you're getting into. But in the less literal sense, I think it also just kind of means to me, stay curious, stay asking questions, stay wanting to know things, because I feel like that will get you really far in life, showing that curiosity. And it also may even just help you find more fulfillment and meaning, as you're looking for these questions and being open to learning new things.
I do have one that I just saw the other day that reminded me. It says, "Not all those who wander are lost." And that's
Yes.
J.R.R. Tolkien. It's just the concept of,
Yeah, I love that one.
it's like life is all about adventure and self-discovery.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Number 2, if you could go on an all-expenses-paid trip tomorrow, would it be A, an outdoor adventure to hike or bike in stunning natural scenery, B, a cultural experience to see classic art and architecture, or C, a relaxing vacay to sunbathe on a beach?
I feel like my automatic answer is A, the outdoors, the hiking and stuff like that, because that's what I do a lot of. But because I do a lot of that, maybe it would be cool to get the experience to do the other things. Maybe the cultural experience, get that all paid, so then I make sure that I go and do that.
Makes total sense. As you know, my default setting is always to do the outdoor trips. But you're right. When you go to a city like, let's say, Rome, there's not as much hiking. You're going to want to see what's there.
True, yeah.
So question number 3, if you're super stressed, which action are you most likely to take? Hit the gym hard, cuddle up with your cat, meditate, or medicate?
Probably the cuddle up. I don't have a cat or a dog, so I guess just cuddle up with a blanket and look at my fish in its fishbowl, maybe, because that's my only pet. But yeah, honestly, I think that at least that's my first step, I would say. I feel like when I'm really stressed, it's usually from too much input, right? And so I kind of need to just chill for a second, be with myself, get comfy, get cozy, to just kind of get to, more of a base level again, rather than operating up here. And then I think my next step would maybe be the exercise sort of thing.
That makes total sense.
What about you?
I would say if I'm really stressed, I think that is what I would do. Either a cuddle thing or a meditation thing. Just some way to unplug and, put the phone down and just go inward, because there's just so much stuff going on around us that we all need that safe space, and really only we can create that. And sometimes that's just shutting most things out. So, number 4, which of the following phenomenon is most likely to be real? UFOs, time travel, telekinesis, or Bigfoot?
Oh, this is a fun question. I like this one. I mean, I think my most likely one I would say is UFOs. I think that's one that I'm like, yeah, for sure. You know, just in the broad sense of like, I just feel like there has to be some other life out there. I don't know if I'm as much about like, oh, I think they're definitely here right now watching us necessarily. I could be convinced of that though, but I do think there's for sure like UFOs and aliens and whatever out there.
So, the last question, what do you find more fascinating? The exploration of the ocean, the solar system, or consciousness?
These are all such good questions. I really like these. Because I love exploring like all of them and finding out new information. As from my quote you learned, I really do like the pursuit of knowledge and just like understanding things is definitely something that really drives me a lot. So, oh, this is a tricky question. I studied psychology in school, so I do feel like I have an inclination towards the consciousness sort of thing. Like, I think it's so fascinating just all that goes on within humans, you know, that we don't understand. It's just so cool and interesting and like, yeah, that there's so much just even within ourself that we haven't explored yet. So I do really like the consciousness thing.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that. I definitely think consciousness is the final frontier. There's just so many things that we don't know about our own minds as a collective species, but individuals can make these
Yeah.
breakthroughs where they get glimpses into other realities and other parts of the mind, and they're onto something that is fascinating. And yeah, there's psychology ties into that as well. So most of the stories that I'm going to share today are from Reddit. They include relationship advice, am I the asshole, am I overreacting, plus a few bizarre ones. Now, the last story is our hot topic of the day, which has something to do with the myth of the tortured artist.
We're gonna go boom. We're gonna go.
My husband says my alone time is selfish, but I feel like I am disappearing. I'm 29, female, and my husband is 31, male. We have been together for 6 years, married for 2, no kids. We have a recurring fight about time. I work full time, and he does too, but our schedules are different. When I get home, I need about an hour to decompress alone. Not silent treatment, not punishment. I just want to change clothes, eat something simple, and scroll or read without talking. Then I am totally fine hanging out and being present. He takes it personally. He will follow me room to room asking what is wrong, or he will sit near me and keep trying to start conversations. If I say I just need an hour, he says it's weird that I need space from him and that couples should want to be together after being apart all day. Sometimes he says I'm acting like a roommate. Sometimes he sulks and goes quiet for the rest of the night, which makes me feel guilty, and then I finally have to give in. The frustrating part is he gets plenty of downtime. He plays games with friends a few nights a week, and I do not interrupt. But if I try to take solo time, it becomes a relationship issue. What is a good way to communicate this so he understands it is self-regulation, not rejection? Also, what boundary is reasonable? For example, is it fair to say, I am taking 60 minutes, please do not come in unless it's urgent? Or does that make things worse? I want something that actually works, not another emotional discussion that ends with me apologizing for needing quiet time.
I don't think that she's in the wrong for needing quiet time. I don't know if I like personally always feel that as much. Like, I guess kind of like I said earlier, if I get stressed, I kind of do, but I don't know if I would say quite an hour, but everyone's different. And like from the way that she's writing about it, it sounds very genuine. You know, it doesn't sound like she's trying to make herself sound different or better than what she is. So, I mean, I think that it's very valid for her to have these feelings, and I think there just needs to be some sort of like level of trust established that what she's telling him, you know, saying like I just need some space, that she's not mad at him or whatever, like should be trusted. Because I mean, I could totally see that it's like if your partner's not wanting to or not talking with you, that you could automatically go into like the like, are they mad at me, like what did I do sort of thing. Like that's understandable, but I think like if they're telling you that that's not the case. And like if it's happened multiple times and then, you know, after they have their quiet time, they're normal and fine, I feel like you should be able to trust then that they do just need that quiet time. You know what I mean? That they're not like lying to you. They're not trying to run away from you. They just need that little space, and then they can resume the time together.
The fact that he gets his own game nights but calls OP's quiet time selfish is a double standard. And OP is not asking for a night away, just an hour to reset her nervous system after work, which is completely valid.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned earlier, there's so much stress that we are under these days that sometimes people need their space to just kind of realign. So my thought is that she should try reframing it as a decompression ritual that lets her be a better partner later in the day. This way, it's not a rejection. It's just her pressing pause for an hour or so. And at the end of the day, we have to protect our boundaries. Protect our boundaries. Don't let people drain our batteries.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with you. And that was the other main point of the post that I was also going to bring up, that if he gets this quiet time or downtime, maybe not quiet if he's doing video games, but you know, his relaxation time, she should be able to do that too without being judged or made to feel bad for it. So I feel like you should bring that to your partner's attention, obviously with like communicating that they also deserve that time, you know, not pointing the finger and saying like, well, but you play video games, you know, like bringing it in like a, well, but you know, you take this time to have your decompression period, and this is my version of decompression.
Yeah, it's a framing thing. Now, I can relate to this story because in past relationships and even sometimes with my wife now, you know, I'll get excited about something that I saw or I read or just I'll have an idea. And there are times when I want to share that excitement, but there's also a time and place for everything because, for example, late at night, right before bed, like I don't even want to get fired up about certain subjects, even if I'm passionate
Yeah.
about them. I need to just
Mm-hmm.
kind of go through my decompression routine before sleeping.
Totally.
So it's always like, you know, choosing the right time. But in this particular case, OP has the right to want to have her own space in that moment. And I can understand why he finds that like weird because, you know, if I date someone who's an introvert, like my wife is, I have to try to be more aware that she sees things completely opposite from me. Actually, she's very easygoing with that. But, you know, in general, you just have to recognize other people do things differently. And I don't think,
Exactly.
I don't think he needs to feel like it means anything about their relationship. It's just her thing, right?
I think that's kind of like one of the roots of a lot of issues like this is just that people are putting themselves into like their partner's shoes or situations, and they're putting their own feelings into the situation, when you really just need to recognize that your partner, even though they might be your like closest person, they are not you. They don't think about things the same way you do. You might have a ton of similarities, you know, but at the end of the day, we're all different. We're all going to go about things slightly differently, and you just need to be able to like respect and understand that.
Absolutely. Yeah, a little bit of grace, right? So let me read you a comment here. Somebody said, hell, at this point, start encroaching on his time. Maybe he will actually get it. Some people don't learn until they experience it for themselves. Now, that may be an effective way to show him how it feels, but it's also petty.
Yeah.
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 So then somebody, I think, has a better approach. Another commenter says, my husband and I noticed we always bumped heads in the evening. We attribute it to the scene change from work to home. I usually get home first, so I have the house to myself. And it was overwhelming for me when my husband would come in, podcast blaring, asking what's for dinner. Meanwhile, my husband would be overwhelmed by me wanting to chat about our day or unload about my stressful job. Now we just say, hey, there's been a change of scenery. Can we take a moment to get used to it? And it lets us know that we just need some time to adjust between environments. Another comment, this is very normal. Many people need this space, especially if they are introverted. It has nothing to do with him. It is because of you being hyperstimulated after several hours working and being social with others. What you want is important for your mental health. You're not responsible for managing his boredom.
Yeah, that's true.
My wife's severe contamination OCD now dictates every aspect of our lives. I don't know what to do next. My wife, 33 female, has severe contamination OCD that began during the pandemic when she was pregnant with our daughter. What started as understandable fear, never resolved, and has progressively worsened over 5 years. We have lived in our new home for 3 years, and OCD fully controls daily life inside it. If we go out as a family and return home together, I am not allowed inside until she showers. Showering rituals are extensive. Towels are avoided and water drips through floors and closets. Door handles and cabinet finishes are damaged from constant wiping. Our daughter has never walked freely inside the house. Excessive wiping has also destroyed multiple phones over the past few years. Our marriage has been deeply affected. We argue frequently due to OCD-related rules. For the past year and a half, we have slept in the living room, with me on one couch and my wife and daughter on another. Previously, entering the bedroom required 2 hours of showering first. Intimacy is essentially non-existent. We are also socially isolated. We have not had a guest in our home for over 2.5 years. One of the hardest things for me to understand is that much of this does not happen at her parents' house. When we stay with my in-laws, her symptoms are significantly reduced. Showering still occurs but lasts about 10 minutes instead of hours, with far fewer rules and much less distress. When we return home, it is like a switch flips. I know she is suffering, but I am emotionally drained, burned out, and starting to lose interest in life. I do not feel relaxed or safe in my own home.
It's really interesting about the symptoms not being as bad in her parents' home, right? That's what it was, in her parents' home. It's like, I wonder if she like feels some sort of more like comfort there or something, where she doesn't feel as much the need to hyper control the situation because like parents are there, you know what I mean? So maybe she trusts her parents, to keep like a safe and comfortable home. I don't know. I have no idea, but because that's just super interesting. Because I feel like you would think, if anything, maybe going somewhere else, you would be more freaked out because you don't know how they keep their home. Professionals say, right, like once it's interrupting your daily life and you're having to make changes like that, that's when you need to get help, especially for like a little child like that. Having those restrictions on the kid too seems really hard, especially, I mean, all of it, but especially with the social aspect. It's really hard maybe to bring up to your partner that they should seek help, because they could react negatively. But this situation is a lot. And I think like, I feel like if I was them, I would definitely want to suggest to my partner that they look into something and maybe make it like a group sort of, I don't know, like, so it's not as much like you have an issue that you need to fix. Like maybe you could even like first start by going like couples therapy, so it feels like I also have things to work on, so they don't feel as like isolated in their like need for help.
It's an extreme situation. I mean, my first thought is that OP needs to focus on his well-being first. I mean, it seems like an excuse for his wife to create distance from him in some way. There's definitely something else going on here, I think. It's possible she's trying to drive him away with all of these hoops that she's making him jump through. They're definitely at the point where therapy is the only solution here. OP's love has turned into accommodation. And accommodation, while well-intentioned, only strengthens OCD over time. Every time he follows one of her rules, he's teaching his own nervous system that her fears are justified, that she's right to be afraid. And that whole thing sets an example for their daughter, because kids really cue in on how their parents interact and what they're afraid of. And it gets into them, especially if they're super young. They may never remember it consciously, but they'll absorb it, So
yeah, for sure.
And that whole thing doesn't help the wife, because that's not the real reality.
Yeah.
So when you love someone without any boundaries, you erase your identity in the process, which is not good for him or her or their daughter. Now, the last thing I'll say is that his burnout is definitely a signal that something is way out of alignment, because numbness, exhaustion, loss of interest in life, these are signals that he needs to make a big change. He's living inside a home that feels like a prison with no intimacy, no space. It's definitely one of the more extreme stories I've come across.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think indulging it is definitely a big issue too on his part. Setting the example for his daughter, exactly like you said, and for her too, right? Because you're just kind of you're saying like, you're right. We do need a shower for 2 hours by letting her keep doing that for this long of amount of time.
In general, my belief is when two people get together, they do so because they agreed long before they came down here to Earth, I think, to experience a shared soul curriculum. That means that from a spiritual lens, souls don't enter relationships randomly. They enter them because something meaningful is being worked out, even when it looks painful on the surface. If both partners repeatedly choose to stay, that means that they want to experience a shared lesson together, which benefits both of them in the long run. And in this case, my thought would be that OP's partner is exploring fear, safety, and control, while OP himself is exploring self-worth and boundaries. So it may be a challenge, perhaps, I don't know, but that they agreed on as spirits before they came down here to have this human experience to like deal with. But even if you just take it as a human thing, we all get into relationships to kind of work through something. Like maybe there's a lesson that each of us needs to overcome in our lifetime, just like courage to stand up to something or, self-worth before somebody else like your partner. If this was just about the two of them, the choice is clear. Because they have a daughter, now they have to think about it a little differently. But the end result is the same. It has to be discussed because the daughter is going to grow up in a world where she thinks that germs are deadly, and they are, but not that deadly, not where you can't go outside without possibly dying, from breathing the air, right?
Right.
My friend snooped in my bag, found my USB drive, and plugged it into her computer, which fried her PC because it was actually a USB killer. Am I the asshole for not warning not to plug it in? I am a 20-year-old female. My friend is a 21-year-old female. I always carry a USB killer in my backpack. It looks like any other thumb drive except I stuck a tiny devil face sticker on it so I know it's the dangerous one. I keep it on me because I still live at home and my parents and siblings are super nosy. If I ever left it on my desk, they definitely pick it up and plug it into their laptop to see what it is. Yesterday, I had to leave campus in a rush and asked my friend to watch my bag. I ended up not having time to come back, so I just texted her to take it home and I'd grab it today. She said cool. She gets home, admits she got curious and started looking through my stuff. She found the devil sticker USB, thought it was my normal drive and plugged it into her gaming PC to see what files I have. Her computer instantly died. All data gone. Now she's mad at me, saying I'm reckless for carrying something like that, and I need to buy her a whole new setup, even though she knows she shouldn't have been digging around in my bag in the first place. I feel bad her PC is dead, but come on, don't snoop and don't plug random drives into your computer. Am I the asshole?
Well, I didn't even know that those things existed. First of all, I didn't know you could have a thing like that, so wow, okay. I mean, maybe I'm the outlier, but I'm kind of surprised by how many snoopy people OP has around that, like their friend and their family, like would all just plug in their stuff into their computer. I don't know. I'm just like, I wouldn't I don't think my family or friends would do that, but maybe also I'm being naive. Their friends shouldn't have been looking through their bag and plugged in that USB to their computer. Like that's kind of weird. So I feel like that is on them, but also completely destroying their computer is kind of bad.
Yeah, well, first of all, you're lucky that you live in a environment where there's trust, and also you're not doing anything that you would be worried someone would find out.
True.
So those
Yeah, that's true.
those two things are great benefits. But I think my first thought here is that curiosity killed the cat. Curiosity without consent has consequences. I mean, the friend made a choice to go through her bag, take something that wasn't hers, and plug it into her computer, which these days could be playing with fire because you never know what's on there. And, if I'm not mistaken, that's how the Pentagon got hacked in the early 2010s. Hackers left malware thumb drives in the parking lot, and for some reason, a few curious employees brought them inside and plugged them in. Why would you even do that? But that apparently gave them access to government secrets. We're all responsible for the choices we make, not for the curiosity that someone else acts upon. But it doesn't mean that we can't be compassionate, because personally, I have empathy for her friend. I mean, if I suddenly lost all the data on any of my computers, I would be shook.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the bottom line. So I do feel badly for her. I just don't get that personally. I don't get that temptation. Like, I've had somebody that I dated once, a long time ago, just go on my computer and because I leave my email open, I'm just not thinking there's any issue. Just go in there and start reading things. And it's such an invasion of privacy because even if I didn't say anything that would be, really that embarrassing, I just don't like that. You feel a little bit violated knowing that someone was like, oh yeah, I read a few, you're going to be like, why would you want to I would never do that. If I see someone, I don't even want to look over their shoulder. I'm like, that's you. It's just a weird, it's a respect that I have for other people.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say too. I think it's a respect thing. I feel like with my friends or partners or family, I just feel like I have that level of respect in our relationship where like I don't feel like I need to snoop, or like pry through their things. I like if I'm curious, I feel like we have that level of relationship where I'm like, I'll ask, and if they tell me, that's cool. If they don't tell me, respect that boundary and respect their privacy. Because like you said, like I also wouldn't want people just reading through my email, even if there's nothing sensitive there. Still, it's just kind of like we all deserve some privacy and boundaries to ourselves. But yeah, I do totally feel the empathy comment though. Like I don't think I would want to go as far to like get revenge on them and mess up their computer.
Yeah, I really don't understand exactly what she's saying, because just think about this. Like if you happen to have one computer that has a lot of sensitive information yourself, and you get, again, not the best instinct, but you get curious, you plug something in and it destroys it, you may have no way of getting some of that data back. It's almost like, what happened with the fires in LA last year where houses were burned. Some of the things in those homes, like pictures or keepsakes, there's no getting those back once they're destroyed. So it's similar in that way with data. If you have like anything in there, because it's such a digital world we live in, it's like way harsher than just something that maybe freezes the computer for a second, puts up like a wall, says something like, You remember you're from Jurassic Park? You didn't say the magic word, just something that stops you. And you're like, what is this? Because that's a big punch back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tricky one.
One of the comments just says, who knows if OP had nudes or personal stuff on her flash drive? It was crazy rude to just have a quick peek at someone else's files. Also, though, like we were talking about, why is she carrying a computer killer around?
Right. It's like it's either paranoia or like you have maybe some people around you that you don't really want to have around you, I guess. But
yeah, that's true. It comes back to her like asking herself, what is it that she's really feeling, obviously somewhat unsafe, that she's even thinking about it this way. Am I the asshole for giving away my roommate's cat? I, 24 female, live with my roommate, 25 female. We are both 50-50 on the lease, and cats are allowed on the property according to the landlord. She has always wanted a cat. I have severe allergies and told her from the start that I couldn't live with one before we signed the lease. She kept insisting it would be fine, that I could deal with it, and that it was her right to have a pet. I even offered compromises like small pets that wouldn't trigger my allergies, but she ignored me. Last week, she brought home a kitten. No warning, no discussion, just put it in the apartment. My eyes swelled up. I was sneezing constantly, and breathing became difficult. I asked her to take the cat back or find another solution, but she refused. She said I was just being dramatic. After a few nights of waking up covered in hives and barely being able to breathe and barely being able to sleep, I couldn't handle it anymore. At this point, I had told her multiple times that she needs to take the cat back. While she was at work, I took the cat to a local no-kill shelter. I left a note explaining that because of my allergies and health, the cat could no longer stay in our apartment. When she got home, she completely lost it. She yelled at me, called me heartless, and accused me of betraying her trust. I explained that I wasn't trying to hurt her. I just couldn't live in a home that made me physically sick. She is still furious and says she will never forgive me. I'm currently looking to move out when the lease ends. Am I the asshole?
I don't feel like you should give away another person's pet. It's not very nice of her roommate to disregard her allergies. Wait until this lease is up and move out somewhere else where someone you can have a cat with, because I don't know, you shouldn't be putting a person in that situation where they're going to be like in hives and can't sleep and all that sort of stuff. But I don't think you should get rid of their cat. I would have maybe tried to find somewhere else to live and then said, okay, you figure out how to cover my part of the rent. Find a sublease. Like, that's not on me anymore because you made it so I can't live here. So I'm going to remove myself and now you figure it out.
Again, another extreme counterattack. I think this situation really isn't about a cat. It's about consent and consideration. So like if someone has a severe allergy, To them, it's not a preference or an inconvenience or any kind of emotional objection. It's their physical reality. And when one person's choices compromise another person's ability to breathe, the conversation isn't about fairness anymore. It's about survival. The biggest thing is OP should have tried to make it a little more clear, even though she did tell her roommate before they moved in, I can try a smaller pet, but not a cat. And by the way, I know something about this because an ex-girlfriend of mine came in and I used to have a cat. And even just the little bit that might have still been there, she started like swelling up. So I've seen how people who have an allergy to cats can be pretty severe. Any prior agreement that they had is kind of overridden when someone's physical well-being is at stake. And that's really inconsiderate to on both ends. And that's why I think it's kind of interesting because some of the comments reflect that. There's a phrase that I'll read to you. ESH, which means everyone sucks here. She shouldn't have brought the animal home. You shouldn't have given away her cat. Another one says, well, the roommate massively, but you also, but much less so. My partner is allergic to cats. My cats landed him in the ICU for 3 days. We didn't realize how allergic he was when we moved in together. Good on you for removing the health hazard before you wound up with a massive medical bill. But the better way might have been to involve the landlord sooner. I mean, again, it's all about clear communication. If it would have just been something that was really explored in the beginning and just made clear, hopefully the roommate would never have done that. Let's say you were living with your female roommate and she said, hey, I'm going to have some dates. And so she brings home a date. And now without asking, she's just like hanging out at your place with him, which is maybe okay. But then she's like, I'm just in this dating mode. So I'm just going to be bringing different guys back, once or twice a week. Me personally, I would feel uncomfortable with that. If I have a male roommate and they're bringing back different people, I'd just be like, now I feel like I can't go out here because you got all this, you're just taking up the living room. What are your thoughts?
I totally agree with you. I would not appreciate that very much if there was just always a new man in my living room. I think especially it's added like as a woman, if my partner was bringing home strange men, I feel like I would just be like, I don't feel fully comfortable with this. And like you said too, it's like even, if it's not to like that level, like if you just can't even feel like you can go into your own living room, like that kind of sucks. You know what I mean? Like that's not really the kind of like living situation I would want to be in. I think most people wouldn't want to be in that. But yeah, no, I mean, I would not appreciate that. I think I definitely would talk about that if it was something that was becoming so consistent that my like way of living was having to revolve around that.
Now, I once lived with a female roommate. It was like a 2-story condo and it was a really nice place. But then she kind of like hit some financial trouble. So she decided to Airbnb her room, which of course came with the upstairs living room and kitchen. And she just kind of ran it by me real quick. Hey, so I'm just going to be Airbnb-ing just so you know, like that this is going to be happening. And I'm like, what? And so I would hear people like upstairs because they're on vacation. They're just having fun, playing, being loud. And then I'd hear, they're in her bedroom. And then I find out, which make it even more crazy. I was like, well, where do you go when this happens? And she said, well, the third little loft area that's just a little bit of a bookshelf area. I just throw a mattress up there and I just like sleep up there. I'm like, so you're here the whole time too?
That sounds pretty bad. That's a crazy situation. Oh wow. And that she was just like upstairs casually. That's
hiding.
That's kind of crazy.
She kind of just like I think she pretty much was like up there sleeping in a small little space and waiting for, if they walked downstairs or they left, she would come down and just hang out. And then if she saw them, she'd go back up. But it's like literally it's a loft. So if she just poked her head up, she could just see everything going on down there.
That is very inconsiderate of your roommate to just kind of be like, oh, hey, this is going to happen. I mean, that's something that really affects you too. I don't think that should be a decision that was made alone. Even if like they are financially struggling, it's like you're affecting another person's life now.
She pretty much was just in a situation where she could only see her side. At first, she just said, look, I need to get some extra cash. I own this condo. I'm getting close to being underwater in it. I'm just going to do it. Okay, so you're not really considering me. You're just telling me what to do. And by the way, it's the kind of thing where I didn't feel very comfortable just going up and hanging out in the living room, even before this, just because I knew she was up there, working in the living room and it's attached to the kitchen. So I'm just like, okay, I have a big enough room. I'm cool just hanging out here and just going up and getting what I need from the fridge and then going out. I was totally okay with that. But then when this happened, I'm like, now I feel even more boxed in. Like the space gets smaller when you feel like there's something going on around you that makes you a little bit uncomfortable. So I want to get your opinion on this. It's called the 5-year stranger theory. The theory is that in 5 years, most of the people you see every day will be strangers again. Colleagues, personal trainers, game night buddies will fade from your orbit as lives change. Not tragically, but naturally. This highlights the importance of investing energy in meaningful connections rather than trying to hold on to everyone. It's a reminder that people enter and leave our lives for chapters, and that letting go isn't always a loss, but often a redirection for personal growth. Has that ever happened to you? I mean, where you have friends that at first you feel like you can't imagine not being friends with them in 5 years, but then one day you kind of realize that you haven't talked to them in 2 years.
Yeah, I feel like when you first, started explaining that or describing that theory, at first I was like, oh, that's kind of sad. But then the more you went on talking about it, it's just kind of like, it kind of just is the way though, because you have so many people come into your life, if you start a new job, right? Like that's so many new people. Like what is the chance that you're actually going to hold on to that many of them? I do like the part about, nurturing maybe the ones that you do feel like super close with, or like there is more of like that deeper connection there, rather than just trying to like gather a whole bunch of friends and have as many as you possibly can, because that can be hard then to really have that like deeper connection. But yeah, I've for sure had that happen where it's like, yeah, the years just pass on and you're like, oh wow, I haven't seen them in 4 years, you know what I mean? And it's like, back when you were friends, you were seeing them every day, maybe, especially when you're young and in school, right? It's like you're literally seeing them every day. And then when you go to college, maybe you go to different colleges, maybe you move to different towns after college and you're not seeing each other. And it just kind of, yeah, there are just some relationships that will last through that distance and that not like immediate, like, oh, well, I'm seeing you every day, so we're going to be friends sort of thing. And some of them don't. And that's okay, because over time that would be so many friends to like I'd be trying to keep up with if you keep holding every single one from your whole lifespan. But yeah,
the pandemic definitely drove a wedge between a few of my friendships, because sometimes we have proximity friends like who we get to see at get-togethers. There was this dinner that we used to all go to on Friday nights with a bunch of like entertainment industry type people and creatives. And once those kind of got canceled, we started to drift apart. And it's really because the friendship was based on being in the same room interacting. Outside of that space, many of us probably wouldn't have wanted to hang out. Some of them, yes, but not most of them. The pandemic definitely drove a wedge because a lot of people started getting very conspiratorial, started feeling isolated, and then sort of their worst instincts started to come out. And so that's the reason that those ended. But again, when people move away, that's another proximity friendship kind of scenario. I had a friend who I was pretty much best friends with for like 15 plus years. And they moved to, I'll just say, a different state. And we barely talked. But when we do, it's kind of like, we're back to talking, but it's not the same because you can't hang out with them on a whim,
When I'm thinking about something like that, right? Like maybe like losing a friend, or like, maybe not having as much contact, I feel like I feel like it's helpful to not think of it as like, oh, that friendship wasn't really that deep, or that friendship was fake, or like something like that, because it's like because it was proximity. But I mean, I think that's just kind of the way that it is for a lot of people. I mean, everyone's lives are so busy, and so I think I just it's good to be able to like look back like still fondly on that time and not be thinking of it as like were we really friends? Did we really get along? It's like, no, like, I mean, you did, or else you wouldn't have hung out, right? At least for me, it's like, even if we were close, I'm not just gonna hang out with someone that I don't like. But like, you do still have like a level of a friendship. But I mean, I don't know, things change, and people move on, and you get new friends and they get new friends, and it's just kind of the way it is.
But I agree with you. Yeah, there are friendships that I look back on fondly. I can remember, I'll share a story about something a friend and I did, and I don't have to explain, oh, we're not really as friendly anymore. I could just say, oh, we did this, we went here, it was really fun, because those are moments, and those moments have impact. The person doesn't always have to be around for it to still have meaning. But overall, I think that the theory here is about acceptance. Like, we can accept relationship shifts, without blame and align with people who match our current self. That means that it is inevitable that some friends or acquaintances will not be there in the long run, but that's okay. That's just part of life. I only have very few people that I keep in touch with, and not on a regular basis, from way back when. Like, for example, elementary school, I don't think there's anybody. I mean, there might be one or two people, but only because my parents are friends with their parents. Otherwise, I don't ever call these people. They're also all on the East Coast.
I have like one of my very best friends is from pretty young, but I think that's like really my only one that I would say I have like actual contact with. You know what I mean? Besides that, I do have another good like high school friend that we also went to college though together. So like that kind of like helped extend it a bit more. But yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. I don't have too many from when I was like that young.
My boyfriend ruined my cup, and I'm thinking of leaving him. Am I overreacting? I, 26 female, and my boyfriend, 28 male, have been living together for over a year now. And while he's mostly sweet, there are a few mannerisms I've had issues with, as I'm sure he's had some issues with mine. We're both from the South originally, so we have some strong personalities that clash. One of these things being that he doesn't always pay attention to my most important things. Now there's this cup that I have. I've had it for 9 years. It's a beautiful hand-painted cup that my grandmother had and gave to me to match my first tattoo after I got it done. It's an underwater scene, and it was truly breathtaking. This morning I found it in the dishwasher, ruined. Mind you, over the entire course of our relationship, I have reminded him repeatedly when he's doing the dishes, please remember, that cup is hand wash only. I've said it to him so many times. The last time I did, he actually snapped at me and said he knows and I don't have to remind him all the time. So I stopped mentioning it. And then boom, this morning happens. I am heartbroken over this cup. It meant the world to me. I've been crying all morning. I've asked him to go to a friend's house because I'm so angry. This isn't the first time he's just been thoughtless with my things. But it's the first time he's actually ruined something so special and important to me. He's making jokes. He's given me emotionless and monotone I'm sorries. I had to ask him 3 times to leave, and I think it's because usually when we argue, it isn't this serious and he waits for me to just be okay with him again, or waits for me to calm down and accept his apology. It's been 4 hours. I've not calmed down. I want him out of my house and to not come back tonight. I'm honestly considering ending the relationship. Am I overreacting?
At first, when you first just said like the title of the post, I was like, okay, this sounds ridiculous. Like you're gonna break up over a cup. I was like, okay, I don't think I'm gonna agree with this person. But as you were reading it, I just kind of was thinking more about how a thing in a moment might sound small, but it's the accumulation of the things, right? And it's kind of like, I do feel like an action can have a bigger meaning behind it. If all you heard is like, oh, he accidentally broke her cup, right? It's like, okay, why would you break up over that? But if it's like an accumulation and an indication of him consistently not caring, not respecting her things, not listening to her, it's like, that actually is a pretty big problem in a relationship. So, I mean, I think like, you know, OP knows their situation the best, obviously. But yeah, I mean, it actually does kind of sound like it might be an indication of a larger issue there. If he's kind of dismissing her feelings about it, he's saying he understands and then does the thing anyway. Like he's obviously not really listening and maybe not really caring.
Yeah, so my first thought is to separate the object from the intention. Meaning matters, but so does context. It's okay for OP to grieve the loss of something special that her grandma gave her. That emotion is completely real, and I have empathy for her. But what's important is not confusing carelessness with lack of care, because I don't think he meant to destroy her cup. Now, having said that, the way that he's treated her since, he's downplayed and dismissed her feelings, tried to make jokes about it, which isn't high vibe. That's rude and inconsiderate, really. And I think if he would have stayed in a sincere mode, she would have been able to move past it because she would have understood that he understood the gravity of the situation. But, when people just like make jokes, it does seem to be an indication that there is more to this. It isn't just the cup. The cup is actually the physical, emotional moment there. that she can attach a lot of meaning to.
Yeah, it definitely does seem like a way bigger thing. And it just even even with just the cup, it's like you would assume that if they were in a real partnership, he would know how important this cup is to her. Even if to him he's like, it's just a cup, you should respect your partner's feelings, that they have all this meaning for the cup. So then you should want to take care of it too, because that's what they do. You know what I mean? It's just sort of a thing of going back to understanding other people's perspectives, right? Trying to put yourself in other people's shoes. Not everyone thinks the same as you.
Every partnership has blind spots. And if she could convey how much this loss means to her, perhaps her boyfriend could internalize it and then come back with a better response. That could take a few days or a few weeks, but hopefully he'll be able to understand what actually happened here. But if not, it's maybe time to look at the bigger picture and see, as on a high vibe note, we as humans can be a bit too attached to physical objects, I believe. Makes sense because we assign them meaning or they become instrumental in helping us achieve goals. Like, for example, my acoustic guitar. I use it as a means to an end. And I don't think if something happened, I would just be like, okay, no big deal. Let's just move on. But I would like to believe that if it's just something accidental, like it fell over or somebody was vacuuming and they knocked it over, I have to take some responsibility in that case. If that happened, why didn't I put it away? I could put it in a case. But, let's just say something happened. It would definitely be a loss because I've had it for a long time. I would hopefully not spend months in a grieving process over what is essentially just an object.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I do agree. Yeah, you're right. We are sometimes materialistic, people are, or too attached to these sorts of objects. So yeah, I do get what you're saying though too, where it's recognize that this has meaning, but at the end of the day, that meaning and memories can still live on even without that object there. So yeah, I see what you're saying.
Personally, if I were in that situation, I would have watched that myself because I know if it really meant a lot to me, I would have done that. But also the fact that she was worried that her boyfriend might be careless and continue to remind him to hand wash it only does sort of show that she doesn't have a complete trust of him, that he has a blind spot towards what's important to her. And that again is a bigger indication of maybe something that isn't on the same level between them. Accidents happen, and that's a totally different story. Funny that it would have been better if he would have just dropped it on the floor and broken it into a million pieces. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, I knocked it over. I didn't mean to do anything. Rather than he just specifically forgot or didn't adhere to her requests to hand wash it.
Yeah, you're right.
So now let's cross the threshold into the somewhat bizarre. This is from the Glitch in the Matrix section. I always find these fascinating. I think you might as well. So this is called, I Saw Objects Appear Out of Thin Air. Okay, first of all, I was not on drugs. I was not on any medication. I've never had hallucinations, and it wasn't carbon monoxide poisoning. I've had a few strange paranormal things happen in my life, like objects disappearing and then showing up days later in random places, but nothing like this had ever happened before. When I was around 17, I was getting ready to go out to meet a friend for coffee. I grabbed my makeup bag to do my makeup and tried to find my beauty blender. I had a set of 3 blue beauty blenders. 2 of them had already gone missing, which was weird because I kept them all in the same makeup bag and never took it anywhere. I was sure I still had at least one left. When I opened the bag, it wasn't there. I searched over and over, but it was just gone. I was really annoyed. I had a younger cousin who lived next door and came over almost every day, and I started thinking she might have taken it. I went into my sister's room with my makeup bag. My mom was there too, and I started venting about my cousin, saying she keeps stealing my stuff. They told me to calm down and help me look for it, but it wasn't anywhere. Eventually, I gave up, sat on the floor, and started doing my makeup anyway. I was using a small, compact mirror. When I looked down to grab a brush, there was a blue beauty blender sitting right in front of me. I knew for a fact it hadn't been there before. I just stared at it, completely confused. Then, right in front of my eyes, another one appeared. Before I could even react, a third one appeared, literally right in front of my eyes. I still don't understand how to explain it. It wasn't like I suddenly noticed them. I actually saw them appear like they materialized out of thin air. My mother and sister saw it too. They didn't see the exact moment the way I did, but they saw them appear there out of nowhere. All three of us were shocked. None of us could believe it. It felt completely unreal. I know this sounds hard to believe, and honestly, I wouldn't believe it too if I hadn't experienced it myself. But it still haunts me. I have no idea what it was. A glitch in the Matrix or something paranormal.
That is a crazy story. Yeah, I mean, I tend to believe people when they say this, but I don't know, I'm kind of having a hard time believing it, but also I don't think someone would like lie about that. That's wow. I don't even know what I would do if that happened to me though. I feel like that's to see it literally appear like
Yeah.
the the glitch thing of kind of like you you look through your bag, it's not there, and then you later find it again. Like that is freaky. And I feel like I've had like maybe kind of stuff like that happen before, but like the literally just appearing in front of your eyes is kind of wild. Like,
And all
I
three.
don't know. I feel like, yeah, and three appearing in front of your, I mean, I don't know. Personally, I would be a little afraid that I was hallucinating. I feel like that's where my mind would go. I'd be like, oh no, like something really bad is happening right now. But yeah.
So here's the thing that I was thinking. First of all, is this more likely a glitch in the Matrix, which implies simulation theory, a paranormal event, perhaps like a ghost or some other entity playing around, or like you said, is it a hallucination? And at this point, I think it could be any of those. Like, I've experienced many things that range from somewhat strange to pretty bizarre to downright miraculous, on a medical situation. But I've never seen a ghost. I've never seen like a figure like that. But in the comments, I think people are kind of leaning in that direction. What about you? Have you ever seen a ghost or anything?
Oh, I've had like a couple experiences that I feel like are maybe kind of ghostish, but I've never like seen a ghost. You know what I mean? I've never like seen a figure. I've just kind of had like something, weird happens that you're kind of like, who did that sort of thing. But I've never like seen a ghost like that. But I didn't really think that people would lean into the ghost thing for that though. Actually, that's interesting. So the only thing about the hallucination though is if her family saw it too, then
Yeah.
it couldn't really be a hallucination then, right? I mean, so I feel like if they all like really did just see that appear, I don't like it has to be one of the other things then, I guess.
The real question is, which one of those three is a magician? Because that's what it sounds like. It's like they can do things so fast you can't even see it. By the way, sometimes I watch these like behind how magicians do their tricks. Like you see the quick reveals and I'm like, oh no, I don't. It's just such quick like tricks. And if you see it from the other side, you're like, oh no, that's all it is. It looks so much more magical before I knew. One of the comments is this: I've had this happen. We call it ghost presence, as in presents. Sometimes coins fall from the ceiling. Once a pair of old man prescription glasses fell out of thin air and hit my leg as I walked through the living room. No one has been in my home that wears these glasses, so I have no idea why a ghost would drop his glasses on me. LOL. It's bizarre, but I still have the actual proof. And the OP responds, ghost presence, I like that one. I feel relieved that it happens to other people too. If my mother and sister didn't see it with me, I would think I'm going crazy. The simulation theory, by the way, it suggests that our reality is a computer simulation, like a full sensory video game created by an advanced civilization, with us conscious inhabitants who don't realize that it's artificial. The concept was popularized by philosopher Nick Bostrom and explored throughout the lens of physics, philosophy, and tech. Proponents suggest that if powerful civilizations can create realistic simulations, statistically, we're more likely to be in one than in the base reality.
That is a really interesting one. Do you have an opinion on it?
I do. I actually think that I really don't accept that it's an advanced civilization, like maybe some alien race. There's a lot of theories out there, but I choose to kind of think of it as perhaps this whole thing is kind of like a spiritual simulation where we as spirits, as energy, part of this big collective decide to come down here to Earth to experience things, to kind of work through contrast and work through conflicts and try to be the best version of ourselves, try to choose the high vibe road as much as we can. And the reason I believe that that's more likely the case is because when we do those things, when you treat somebody with respect, when you help someone, you show some kindness, some consideration or compassion, you as a person feel good about it. you feel better. Like it takes a very specific kind of person who feels good, and I don't even know if that word is good, feels fulfilled by hurting somebody. Who's like, oh, I cut somebody off and I flipped him the bird and, I shoved this lady while I was trying to get in line. Whoa, I cut her off. Like, I think that's unhealthy. And I think those people know it deep down, even if they're likely to brag about some inconsiderate, rude thing they did to get ahead, to get like 5 seconds ahead. If you're given a choice and you consistently choose the lowest road, the path that is mean to somebody or inconsiderate somebody, that's sort of the way you lead to your own internal destruction, I guess. Whereas when you have that chance, even if you make some bad decisions, like you're given, 3 times in a row, you cut the person off in line, you gossip in a mean way about somebody. But then that 4th time you go, you know what? That's not right. Here, sir, please go ahead of me. You seem like you're in a rush. Or let's not talk about this person this way because they're going through this or that right now. Let's have some compassion. When you make those choices, I think that is getting back in alignment. So we can only really control what is in our immediate space. And so therefore we have to take responsibility for how we think and feel and how we respond. So in that sense, I believe it is somewhat of a spiritual simulated reality. Doesn't mean there's not physical matter, but I believe since we're energy, that this has to only be one level of existence, that it doesn't end in the physical.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I like that version of the simulation theory. That's really cool.
It implies that there's a purpose that is ultimately meant to be, we gather different experiences and bring it back to some collective in some way, and that it doesn't have to be like a biblical heaven or hell. Everything's about choices. Religion is the problem. It puts you in a box. Spirituality takes you out of the box. Consciousness, there is no box. So...
Yes, yeah, I completely agree with you. I also can't get behind that aspect of some organized religion stuff. But yeah, I think you're right. The spirituality and consciousness is what we should aim for.
So regarding those blue makeup kits, that could be a situation where the simulators kind of maybe mess something up and they're like, oh, wait, if you're talking about simulation theory as opposed to ghosts, sometimes there's something like, remember in The Matrix, the movie with the black cat, they see the cat and they go, wait, is that the same black cat or is it a different black cat? It could just be something to do with that where the makeup beauty blender, they're like, wait a minute, there was supposed to be one here. Then they just, okay, click this button. Now it's here. Then wait, 1, 2, there's 3. Oh, well, let it go. Let them just grapple with it. Who knows, right?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, that story could be like one of the better ones I've heard for that sort of just like, the controller, the creator being like, oh, gotta put that in. Because I don't know if I quite lean as into the ghost thing. I was kind of surprised actually that the replies are more leaning into that. But
yeah.
But yeah, I mean it literally just showing up is exactly like if I were to play the computer game Sims, right? Like I can literally like pause it, go get a little item, put it down on the ground, and now it's just there for them. It's exactly like that game. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you're right. I would not have leaned into ghosts, but that's only because I haven't had an experience with ghosts. Now, I will say, have I had experiences what I might call an entity of some kind? The answer is yes. We don't need to get into it, but not ghosts, not like what they describe as ghosts, where there's like something that sort of haunts you or maybe is playful with you, or you see it out of the corner of your eye and it's not there, or there's an impression in your seat and you're like, I didn't sit there in weeks. What is that? I haven't had that experience, not to at all discount other people's. It's just me personally, I haven't had it.
Yeah.
For our hot topic of the day, let's explore the tortured artist myth. This post is in the creative subreddit. OP asks, is pain truly a prerequisite for great art? Vincent van Gogh produced over 2,000 works from 1880 to 1890, much of it during periods of severe mental distress. He struggled with depression, psychosis, isolation, and financial insecurity, and famously sold almost no art during his lifetime. His work is emotionally raw, intensely alive, and expressive of inner turbulence, yet his work is considered timeless works of art. Sylvia Plath was a gifted poet and novelist whose writing explored despair, identity, gender roles, and death. She lived with major depression and died by unaliving herself at age 30. Many people believe her work are examples of how psychological pain can sharpen language and emotional precision, while also reminding us of the cost when support and integration are lacking. Finally, Kurt Cobain, the lead singer of Nirvana, gave voice to alienation, disillusionment, and inner conflict during the grunge era. He struggled with addiction, chronic pain, and depression, and died at 27. His music captured a generation's angst and vulnerability, showing how personal suffering can resonate collectively, but also how fame doesn't resolve inner wounds. So, is pain a prerequisite for creativity? Is pain the secret to creating great art?
I think that pain can be channeled into art and can be well channeled into painting, film, music, whatever. And I think it can be a way for someone to use that sort of feeling to create something and maybe like express when they normally wouldn't in their life. So I do think that it can be like a feeling behind some great art. I mean, obviously, like the people you were listing, right? I mean, I feel like they're known to be great in their field. So like I do think it can, but I don't know if I would say it's a prerequisite. I think maybe that goes like a little far with it. I mean, the general population also really loves things that are more like comfortable and happy, but maybe some people would say that's not art. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like maybe like some people would say like a sitcom isn't art maybe, but I will say in terms of like that sort of like media consumption, I do think there's a big market for stuff that isn't like pain driven maybe, you know what I mean? Or isn't all like sad and dark. So while I do think like that pain can be used to make good art, I don't think it's necessary.
I would agree with you. For sure. I think that pain can wake people up and even inspire them because it strips away illusions. It can soften their ego and help them push their awareness inward. That can definitely help them access deeper emotions. But I don't think that art itself is created solely by pain. There's usually a filtering process that goes with it. Otherwise, here's what I was thinking. Every psychotherapy session would be considered a work of art. Just
Yeah.
right. It's like, oh, let's talk to this guy. Okay, wait, this is perfect. This is my next release. So, I mean, what great creators share, I think, isn't trauma, it's sensitivity. Sensitive people feel more, they notice more, they care more, and they perceive nuance. So pain can heighten sensitivity, but so can love and awe and wonder. It's not pain that fuels creativity. It's the ability to feel deeply and stay open. Some of the most luminous creative works come from joy and reverence. And as you said at the top of this, curiosity, not just heartbreak. So I think it's an interesting thought because a lot of people talk about the tortured artist and you have to struggle to sort of get somewhere. And then there are those people who actually, I think, got there, like Edgar Allan Poe, I believe was pretty respected in his day. And then toward the end of his life, he was really suffering from severe depression. So his writing got darker and darker. And that's the stuff that we celebrate the most, like Quoth the Raven. I think that was toward the end. Yeah, that gave his art a certain feel or something, but that's not like you have to do that. I do think, by the way, when you mentioned earlier, I think there are sitcoms that the writing is clever and that's totally art. I think that there's a lot out there that anyone can draw from. And that brings up an interesting point because when it comes to screenwriting, some people will say, can you write a script about, let's say, having been dragged out of bed and beaten as a kid every day, like let's say Beethoven, who was he was beaten by his father and forced to practice the piano. Luckily, he happened to be very creative and naturally gifted. And so he did turn that pain into art. But can somebody write a script about that if they themselves had a really wonderful childhood? I maintain that as long as there's some empathy and that they have had, like every human being, some experience of pain of any kind of wall that they had to come up against, then they're human. And why can't they find a way into the story?
No, I agree with you because then even from also an acting perspective, right? Like if you're playing Beethoven, does the actor have to have been beaten every day by their dad too? You know what I mean? It's like, no, we wouldn't really say that that's the case. So you don't need to have lived that exact experience to write or perform it, as long as there's like something that you can sort of tap into to make it feel realistic, I guess. But yeah, I don't think you need that exact experience.
On that note, what do you think about method acting? Do you know any method actors?
I don't think I know anyone who's like that serious that they're like pulling full on method, but it's not something that I really lean into. I think I'm definitely more like I feel like I can just tap into that sort of emotion, like when necessary, like how we're talking about, right? Like I don't feel like I need to fully be that person. I think that it's kind of like you should, or maybe not you should, but like you can tap into, those sorts of emotions to portray that scene just from like maybe other things in your life. And if you're in a scene and you're trying to bring up like tears, it's like you don't necessarily want to like traumatize yourself by like rethinking like your own personal trauma, because like that can be mentally exhausting. So it's like you don't want to necessarily be like, okay, what's something that's made me really sad and let me relive that right now. So it's like you do want to be able to get into that character's perspective of it, but also I don't know if you need to go as far as like fully method. What do you think?
I agree with that. I think it is psychologically unhealthy to do that. I mean, there's arguments to be made about Heath Ledger going so deep into the Joker role that he lost himself. And, he had some issues after that, I believe. I'm not sure if it was drug related, but he had some issues moving forward from that role. I think that, by the way, Jodie Foster, she always said, look, I prep before a scene. I get in the scene, I give it all I can. I live in that moment. They say cut. I'm like, okay, where's my coffee? I think that's kind of like how I feel about it. You might need some prepping for sure, but when you're in that moment, stay in the moment. That's a good thing about like, conscious living. It's all about staying in the present moment. And so if you're in that moment, you're believing those circumstances and you're delivering that performance. And as soon as it's cut, maybe take a minute or two to shake it off, but I don't think you need to take it with you everywhere. Sean Penn, apparently, when he was doing Fast Times at Ridgemont High way back when in the 80s or something, he was cast in the surfer role as a character named Jeff Spicoli. He would call this other actor's house back then, and he'd say, hey, is this guy there? And they go, yeah, sure. Who's calling? He goes, it's Jeff Spicoli. And they're like, hey, there's a guy named Jeff. Oh, yeah, that's Sean Penn. He's just calling in character. And it was like, that's how far he took it. He just wanted to like be constantly that guy. He would also smoke a lot of pot, just whether he did normally or not. He just wanted to be the surfer, guy. And then as soon as the movie was over, he wouldn't even do the impression. For years, people were like, hey, do the Spicoli. He's like, no, that's done. Is that really the role that you need to go so 24/7 on? That's just me. I don't want to diminish people's art. But I do think on the psychological side, for someone like a Heath Ledger, it could be really damaging if you're just always walking around in the mode of a psychopath.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it sounds very mentally draining.
So thank you so much for joining me today, Olivia. It's been not only fantastic working with you in this episode here, but just collaborating with you for so long. As a singer, as an actress, you're super talented, and it's been wonderful having you in our music videos and other projects.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me today and always. It's been so much fun working with you. I kind of can't believe how long now we've known each other too. But yeah, it's been so much fun. I've loved doing your music videos, singing, all of it. It's so fun.
And by the way, Escape Samsara, check it out now if you haven't seen it. It's going to be on our YouTube channel. Olivia does a fantastic job in this role. And it's a really poignant story about the temptations we have in life and what happens if we make the wrong choice. Is there a way back? Those are the questions that we kind of pose in this video. So before we peace out, is there anything you'd like to add? Any final words of wisdom, observations, anything?
No, just thank you. This has been super fun. I really liked these questions. I love pondering things like this, like the relationship stuff and the more bizarre paranormal sort of stuff. It's all super fun. So yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much again. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe and let me know in the comments your thoughts on today's stories. Remember, every challenge is an opportunity. Until next time, namaste. What kind of reactions? Like shocked or something? A little bit like, what? It's whatever. Just rotate a few faces.